Happy
Hello.
Sunday, everyone.
How's everyone doing?
Everyone. Everyone's doing
Look, I'm wearing colour.
I know, it's very strange. It's a strange time. Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of All Out and Loud, which is mad. Episode 6, we've got to episode 6. That's madness. How's your week been, Stu? How are you doing?
It's been all right. It's been a weird couple of weeks. I'll briefly mention the calamity that is me. The fatty tippy tumbles strikes again, and I tripped over the table last week and hit the TV, the expensive TV that we had just last November. Put a big crack in it, so we had to get a new TV.
Oh dear.
That was not the best. That was not the best time, but I felt guilty ever since. But that's me not being able to stand up correctly or move or walk. So there you go. But yeah, that was the highlight. And yesterday I went to the cinema for the first time. I think probably since February. I went to see the new Christopher Nolan film, which was so loud it made me want to throw up.
And there you go, there's the recommendation there for you right at the start.
Yeah, that's it. There you go. Yeah. So music show, but there's a movie recommendation. If you want to go in and watch it, take some earplugs. How are you? What's been going
on? I'm good. I did my last circus show. I worked for a circus called the Invisible Circus in Bristol. 10 hours a week we had our last show, so that was really nice online show. And I've been just listening to Orville Peck all week, to the point where I feel a little bit like I might be Orville Peck. It's got to the point where we every morning we're pretty much listening to him, and every evening we end up with him. So which would everyone's dream would be to every evening end up with Orville Peck.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. It was. It's been an all right week actually. It's kind of like this weird. I feel like we're in this weird time now where we've all kind of accepted this is life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been good. So we've got a right old show for you today. We've got one of our joint favourites, I would say. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Julie from Hawk. For once, it's me rapping.
Fangirling.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to be interviewed later
I'm fangirling for the baby seals this time.
I'm always weirded out when you wear a colour, though.
Everyone is. We have got a really good show. You're right. Julie from Hawk is coming in a bit later on to have a chat with us. I'm really excited about that. I think the last time we saw Julie was at the All Day that we got.
Yeah, it was the All Day. Yeah, definitely. And I definitely didn't make an idiot of myself, so that's good.
Which was great. We obviously we put on an all-day mini festival, a queer arts festival, and Hawk were one of the bands that played. You'll get to meet Julie a little bit later on. But shall we crack on with the first video?
Yeah, let's crack on, shall we? All right.
So first up, we've got a video from a band called Venus. If you want to check them out online, they usually go by Venus Girls, but that's girls like Riot Girl, so it's with 3 R's instead of an I. So they've basically... we've kind of been in contact for a little while. I sort of approached them to put on gigs with them last year and this year, and it's just sort of never worked out. But hopefully next year will be the time that I'll get to have a Punka gig with them. But they've got a new EP, which is called Wicked Things. This is their latest single from it. This is a really lovely video that they sent us in. And this is a song called You're All Right, I Guess.
There's a
back.
How good was that? I mean, I love that video, but I just love them. I think they're incredible. So yeah, make sure you check them
They're
out.
really young, aren't they? I feel like they're really.
They're so, like, to be honest, they're ridiculously professional as well. They're really, really sorted. And
Young doesn't necessarily mean not professional. I was far more professional when I was younger.
Very true. Yeah, just like the way that they sort of follow up on things and sort of communicate with promoters and things like that. They're really, really good to work with. But yeah, I just love that song. It's great.
Yeah, it's great. It's a little banger, that one. It's a shake your ass in your kitchen, that one.
Yeah, the whole EP is great as well. So yeah, check it out if you can.
Yeah. With all the bands that we have tonight, you may have noticed that there is their Instagram handle in the corner of the screen. We've also got that at the end credits, but do check them out on all, like, Spotify. They'll have all their links on the Instagram, which is why we link them to Instagram. But do check them out, because obviously artists need help too. So
very much so.
Yeah. So we were having a chat. We were thinking what we might do is count down our top 3 gigs we've done, the two of us. So obviously I do a bit different kind of gigs. I do kind of alternative cabaret gigs, but I have gone into the musical realm quite a few times, and most of my cabaret gigs revolve around some musician or some band or something. So I think what we should do is we'll do our 3 now. We'll do our 2 after the next video, and then we'll do our 1 after the next video. Yeah?
Cool.
Okay, so what's your number 3?
So I think my number 3 would probably be, it's a Punka gig that we did. So I do Punka club nights, where I play sort of like indie rock music, for anyone that doesn't know, for the sort of queer community in Bristol. And then I do gigs as well, which usually involve like live bands and a drag king or queen as a host. So last year on my birthday, it just so happened that the end of the tour for the Menstrual Cramps, which was like a 3 sort of pronged tour, it was the Menstrual Cramps, Baby Seals, hence the T-shirt, and Dream Nails. Dream Nails, their album came out yesterday. If you haven't listened to it yet, it's fucking incredible. Go get it. It's so good. But yeah, all 3 bands played on my birthday. It just happened that way. They booked the tour and they said, we want you to be the Bristol sort of final leg of the tour. And it was lovely. And we had drag king Isaac Dix was the host. It was a sold out show on a Sunday night as well, which was nuts. So it was really lovely. It was at the Exchange. And also I, embarrassingly enough, had everyone sing happy birthday to me. So Isaac Dix and the Menstrual Cramps got me on stage, got me a cake and put a candle in it and made everyone sing to me. Aww. And I don't like usually being in front of people. Obviously that's changed since then because I'm doing this.
Yeah.
It was very embarrassing, but also very lovely. So I'd say that is definitely in my top 3, and that was such a lovely gesture, and it was a really nice. So there you go. What's yours?
So my number 3, I was just thinking, like, which one am I going to go with? I think my number 3 is probably the first Queercore, which was this time last year. Yes. Queercore is a night that I started. I really wanted to do the 3rd edition just before lockdown. Actually, I was planning it, which was kind of showcasing different kind of queer musicians. So I'm super into grime and kind of hip hop and that kind of side of things. And we had but that was like the idea was that I wanted to kind of put those at the front. But for that one, I had the fantastic Psycho Fag as the main event, with a whole host of like Bristol, like wig in a box favourite drag acts, and then Dis obviously hosting. I really loved it. It was way more. I'd gone through a little bit of a kind of shaky period with Wig in a Box where it was not being quite what I wanted it to be, and why I started it, and it just got me right back to my roots and queer punk and everything I believe in, really, and that weird mix of things where you don't really know what you're going to find. And the best thing about it was there was that stag party that came.
Yeah, I remember.
So there was a stag party that came, and obviously it was a straight stag, and They absolutely loved it, and they were so respectful and so lovely, and they just kept sending me messages like the next day, just like, we couldn't imagine a better stag for him. It was so lovely, like, you really embraced us. And I was just like, that's what I'm doing it for. Like, and not for a straight man, but like the fact that we can all be in a room together and it's not that weird. Like, I loved it. It was great. So yeah, that's definitely I think that's not, that's up there. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, I did a DJ set that night for queercore, and they were like high fiving me every time I was like playing a new song and stuff. And they were super respectful. And
it was just so fun. It was just really nice. And anything at the Exchange is really good. Go follow the Exchange. They've got their own TV channel or something now that they're doing, so that's quite cool. And we're big fans of Ewan at the Exchange. He's been really supportive. So so definitely number 3 was queercore, number 1. Right. So should we move on to our second video?
Yes, yeah. So this one, this is a good one actually. So this is a band called Chang. So it's CHANG. And Chang played they were the very first band, the very first Punka gig I ever put on in sort of March 2018. The gig itself was a bit of a fiasco. We had a pint accidentally poured onto the mixing desk, so the final band didn't get to play. So if anything has taught me, that if any other gig ever goes wrong, I always think, well, at least that didn't happen. Yeah. But Chang are just incredible. They are the definition of punk in the fact that you never know what you're going to get. They're like a bit of little bottle of anarchy, and then as soon as they get onto the stage, it's just nuts, and I love them for it. This video, there is some flashing images, and there is some spicy lyrics, but shouldn't that be what punk is? They're from Bristol, and this is a song called Rag. Check it out. How good is that? It's nuts. It's such a nuts video. I love it. Yeah, so check Chang out everywhere. If you want to follow them on Instagram or Facebook, type in @BeLikeChang and they'll come up. But yeah, such a good band. Seriously, if you get a chance to go and see them live, just expect the unexpected. They are amazing. So
we have had them at a joint thing, or was I just events organising? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think that was at the Old Market Assembly when we did. It was like Chang and Winnie and the Rockettes. Was
that was it? Yeah, that was
yeah. Also good. So your second choice for top 3 events.
Second choice. This is the thing, because there's an obvious one, which I think we'll both probably pick as number 1, won't we? Because we have to. But I think number 2, it's between the Nick Cave and the Cure Night. And it's between those two because I have a very complex relationship with Old Market Assembly because it's where I used to work as an events organiser and it all got a bit muddy and weird. I had some great nights there with Wig in a Box, but a lot of them are ones I do with Slaughterhouse, or they're ones that I do as Category Is, which is a completely different ball game to which started because I was organising events for a big venue, not because it was Wig in a Box. So those I've kind of have weird relationships with. There was obviously the Bowie night, which was one of my first on my own, which I loved, but it's between the two. I think probably because it was the week before lockdown, it's probably going to be the Cure night because I've got really lovely photos of us all dancing, and I've got some great footage of us all dancing to various things. Jada filmed me very drunkenly singing along to the Distillers, which is slightly embarrassing. But like, it was just such a special show because one, the Cure have been a band that have just like punctuated my whole life. You know, everyone's got that band. It's like there's a song that reminds you of every single bit in your life can be defined by one of their songs. They're very much that for me. And Keith Ramsey, who is a cabaret singer and actor,
we love him.
Oh, he's just stunning. It was just it was a very me lineup. It was people that people wouldn't have seen before because they're very much more in the cabaret field. We had obviously Wild Vixen, who's become very much part of the family now.
Absolutely.
And obviously Jada and Ro pulled it out of the bag with this incredible performance of Love Song where Jada sang live, and I'd never heard her sing live. So it was really special. It was really nice. I know we were all in a bit of a funny mode because we weren't quite sure what to do. Like it was a really bizarre little bubble of time, and I felt like we all just danced at the end of it, and it was just fun. And it was literally the week before full on lockdown, wasn't it? It just was it was just really lovely way of kind of what we didn't know was going to be like. See her maybe in another time this year, we don't know.
Exactly.
So that was probably the Cure night. The Cure night was fab.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, the thing is as well, it was a weekend where one of my best friends came to Bristol to see me and crash here for the weekend, and you know, he visits all the time. He's from back home in the Midlands, and he'd never been to a show like that before. And I just sort of told him a little bit of what to expect and just went with it. And he had the time of his life and ended up like he was dancing with us on the dance floor, until the very end. And he couldn't stop talking about it the following day.
Yeah.
Never seen anything.
My friend Jenny came down, who I hadn't seen in ages, and like was there with her sister, and her sister hadn't been to a queer show ever, and was just like, oh, I thought it wasn't for me, but this is so me. And I was like, like it's for everyone. It's not. So it was just really special. My sister and my brother-in-law were there. Like it was a really nice, friendly family time where I got quite drunk, and it was wonderful. And it was at Zed Alley. Again, I want to give calls out to the venues that we use quite a lot. Zed Alley is in Bristol. It's a small venue. They are open again. They are doing private hire for 30 people. It's a lovely little venue. The guys who own it they're fucking lush. They are. They're very much Bristol boys, and they've been so supportive of us, and like things like putting bathroom signs up that I was really weirdly paranoid they get funny about. They don't care about gender neutral bathrooms. They're just so supportive of what we do, and I was the one that thought they wouldn't be, and I feel bad for that because they're very, very lovely, and Brian is like such a lush guy. So yeah, if you want to go to a safe night out, they do Electric Barbarella, which is a goth night in Bristol, and I'm sure they've got it down when it comes to like all the COVID stuff they need to have sorted. So yeah, Zed Alley, do check them out. How about your number two?
Number two. So same again. It's at Zed Alley. It's one of my gigs that I did at Zed Alley. It was last November. We had them on as guests on this show. Sink Your Teeth were headlining the gig. It was special for a lot of different ways. It was the first sort of electronic gig that I'd put on. So most of the gigs that I do are very punk or very rock, and this was a really good sort of synth lineup. We had Delirium, the drag queen, hosting. We had Moe and Masquerades were both supporting, and it was just a really nice vibe. But it was actually the first gig that or Punka show night that my mum had ever been to, and she had an amazing time. She'd only just had an eye operation, so she was sort of very much like still trying to sort of take in all the lights and things that were going on and stuff like that. But yeah, it was just a really special night for that reason, and also for the fact that it was at Zed Alley, and they're always really gracious, as you say. So yeah, that was a special night for me, and also because I just love Sink Your Teeth. I think they're just they make amazing music, and I was a fan of them and got to book them, and that you know, that's something for me. That's quite special.
Joy, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it doesn't always happen with small promoters that, you know, someone who you follow just because you like their music kind of thing, you know, you get to actually do it, because a lot of times you either sort of find bands somehow and you know, are putting together a lineup and it just happens, or bands find you. You know, it happens both ways, but this was a band that I approached, and they very much wanted me to be a part of the tour, which was lovely. So I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Okay, so video number 3. We're already on 3.
I know. Yeah, so this is a band called the Cynic Tones. So the Cynic Tones are self-proclaimed psycho surf noir music, and we love them. They're another Bristol band. They are incredible. They sort of got this like surf kind of horror vibe to them as well, which I absolutely love. We booked them for the Halloween show last year, and they all turned up in like sort of skeleton dresses with like UV lights, and they dressed the set and everything, and they brought with them their dancers, who are the Go-Gets, who are 60s style dancers. You'll see them in the video. They're fantastic, and they just add that extra level of like showbiz, I guess, to their performances. And yeah, and they played at our All Dayer as well, which we mentioned earlier. So yeah, I guess the last time I saw them was February at the All Dayer. But so this is a video called Your Crime, and this is made up of footage from various shows. Some of it is actually from the Halloween show from last year. So when you see them in skeleton outfits, that's from there. So yeah, check it out.
Your place. See that you're surprised with that in no disguise. You even dyed your hair like you were never there. It's plain to see your hands were tied. No one could be your guide. It's not for me to ask you why. It's gonna be your crime. Your crime. Your crime. misery of all. In your wake, are you gilded by the hearts that you break? I see that you're surprised, but that ain't no disguise. You even dyed your hair like you were never there. It's plain to see your hands were tied. No one could be your guide. It's not for me to ask you why. It's gonna be a crime. Surprised, but that ain't no disguise. You even dyed your hair like you were never there. It's plain to see your hands were tied. No one could be your guide. It's not for me to ask you why. It's gonna be a crime.
I love that.
And we... Ooh, no. Just giving away what we were doing next. Never mind. Oh, I did it for all of 2 seconds. We're fine. And we're back anyway. Again, if Jamie does go to Scotland, this is the kind of thing you're going to get, I'm afraid. So, yeah.
Yeah, we've got Claire doing the tech tonight again. You always do a fantastic job, so shush, it's fine. How good was that video?
It's so nice to see live music again.
Yeah. Obviously check them out wherever you can and go give them a follow. They're lovely people, but also obviously they make music that not many people are making in this country.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's so good to dance to. They're just proper, and they're proper sweethearts. Yeah, another one that I'm really glad I met, because they're just really solid. Like solid pair of hands in a lineup, you know you're gonna get some good danceable fun music and set. So yeah,
I love the fact that they are theatrical as well. I like the fact that they have the dancers, or that they always sort of bring a show with them, kind of thing. I like the fact they think about that. It's quite nice.
Yeah. And it's campus tits as well. So
yes, we love that.
Okay, so we're on to our number one of our.
I think it's going to be the same for both of us, maybe, but
yeah. So obviously, number one was the all-dayer.
Yeah, easily.
So our all-dayer, I think we've spoken about it before on here, but basically, we're both I would say we're two quite different promoters in what we do and what we want, but we also have the same ethics and the same kind of thing that we want to come out of it, which is a safe space for queer people and allies to come enjoy a live experience that is more DIY ethic than we're used to in the gay scene. Would you say that?
Yeah, totally.
So I put together the cabaret lineup for it. So we decided we were going to do it alternated, didn't we? So we had band, then cabaret, then band, and we had drag hosts to stay up with the kind of punker way of doing things. And the wig in a box way of doing things is usually there's a drag host and then there's lots of other cabaret. So we had some really amazing people from the cabaret side of things. We had Misty Vine, who I reckon that was one of my favourite bookings I've ever done, because it was Misty Vine, who is an incredible burlesque artist. If you haven't seen them before, do check them out on Instagram because they're fantastic. But Misty's also a stand-up comedian, and Misty came out dressed as a vagina. And it was really funny. It was
the whole set was about vaginas as well.
Yeah, And the whole day was, so it was a whole, obviously with the all-dayer, it's an all-dayer. So it was to, from a promoter's point of view or from a producer's point of view, it was quite a difficult kind of ask, because it's kind of like most of my stuff is like 11 o'clock I used to start, 10, 11 o'clock was when we really start. So to program things for the actual day was quite difficult, but actually turned out really easy. We had Keisha's Lorraine, who's kind of a bit of a Bristol and London legend now, I would say. Bit of like Juno Birch in there and a bit of old school kind of BBC sitcom humour, just very funny. We had obviously legendary Sneeze, who was doing the D&D on our channel as well. Mariana Trench. Who else did we have? We had
City Moonlight.
CG Moonlight, who I'm uncomfortably obsessed with, who did their Bronson act, which is absolutely brilliant. We had Luli
Blue.
Thank you. Unfortunately, she triggers off my stutter, so I can never say her name. And who else? We must have had more. I had more. Delirium.
Delirium and
Ruby Rawbone.
Obviously, Pretentious Dross.
Pretentious Dross. Oh, Pretentious Dross was an absolute. So I've been wanting to book them for ages, and it seemed like the perfect match. They did a Kate Bush number. It was just a really special kind of way, in a weird way, out of my comfort zone of how to book, and I really enjoyed it. And not only did I enjoy it for that, we also had a art, like, because I'm an artist myself, we had a little cute little art market at the back, so that people could go and support queer artists and makers. And then obviously we had the bands as well, so it was a really special time. It was at the Exchange, which is one of our favorite venues, as we said. It just felt really good. There was a lot of people I hadn't seen before at our gigs. There was a lot of people I had. My best friend came, which was I hadn't had them at my gig before, and it was just that was very emotional. Lovely. And then a student film company had done a documentary about myself and some of I suffer from PTSD, and they'd done quite a lot about my journey with that within Wig in a Box and how that kind of paired up together in the queer experience. So it was all in all a very, very emotionally draining but incredibly rewarding and just a lovely day, and just a day that made me feel, one, proud to be queer, but two, proud to know the people I know, and proud to be able to get them on a stage and give them that platform. So it was, for me, it was really warm feelings.
Same. I mean, I obviously, not to echo everything, but the lineup was insane. And obviously we had like Armin Rahman starting, who I'd never seen before, and they dress up in sort of like Egyptian garb and write these incredibly sort of lovely, sort of almost like indie folk songs, but they're very, very funny. We had the Cynic Tones. Obviously we had Hawk, who Julie's going to be joining us very shortly, and that was one of those times where I'd worked with Hawk before last year with their Drawn Together tour, and I just knew that they'd go down a storm, and a lot of people hadn't heard of them before because they're from Dublin, and if they hadn't come to the gig they wouldn't have known them. So it was a thing where the gigs where there's like a little bit of sort of space between the stage and the crowd, and then as soon as they start playing, everyone took like 2 steps forward. Everyone was like, okay, and they were into it. Obviously we had like fantastic bands like the Menstrual Cramps, and we finished with Cosmic Ninja, and it just felt like a sort of really good party vibe. And the fact that it went so quickly and so smoothly was like, I think it was a testament to both of us as well. Like, to be fair, I don't toot my own horn very often, but I'd say that
I think it showed how much we'd learned in the last 2 years of doing what we do, and knowing what works, and knowing what our audience wants, and also knowing what we want and what we're comfortable with. And even when little things went wrong, like, I don't freak out about that stuff anymore. I used to, really bad, but these days I'm like, it's a show, this happens, things happen, and not much went wrong, and it was just a really lovely time. And again, it was a month before lockdown.
Yeah,
we were actually, I worked out, I think it's this weekend or next weekend is the weekend we were going to do another one.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's interesting to think about it, because we would have fucking smashed it, mate.
Let's face it, yeah, it would have been amazing, honestly. Yeah, I know.
But we'll be
Hopefully-
back there again, and like I said, the exchange hopefully will work with them in some respect this year at some point.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I'd love that.
so
crack on.
crack
Let's
on.
So a couple of episodes ago, we had a music video from a band called the Twistettes. Now, the Twistettes are a duet from Scotland, and they are super, super lovely to work with. But little known to everyone else, they had a side project they were working on. They were working on like an electronic side project, and they've called it Minerva Wakes. And basically, they've sort of taken their love of all the different sort of genres that they like in electronic music and just funneled it into a new project, a new band. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's a really nice, a very, very different sort of genre for them completely. But it's just a really great kind of song. It very much reminds me of Curve from the 90s.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've got to love that. But, yeah, this is a song called Tell Me, and this is Minerva Wakes.
And we have company.
Hi.
I know. It's so lovely to see you. We
Hello.
were just saying, kind of feels like you're in the same room, which is really lovely.
Literally just finished my tea and I was like, oh, I should make another pot. Like, make more for everyone.
Yeah,
Make
exactly.
one for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a brew if you're making.
I'll hop off. So
Yeah. So how are
Yeah.
you, Jude? How's things?
I'm pretty good. I have no frame of reference for like time right now
Yeah.
or events in life. That's where I'm at. I think I was like nailing lockdown pretty hard for the first 2-3 months. I really got like I had 1 week of absolute crisis mode where I didn't sleep at all. And then I got really on top of like, you know, this idea of what normal is. It's just a construct. I'm in control of all of this stuff. And I really started like getting very healthy when it came to like putting stuff in my diary and like projects for the week and, you know, making sure I was checking in with myself. And it's actually only been since things kind of opened up, but didn't quite open up because nothing is normal yet. It was only then that like my brain and body started to collapse in on itself slightly.
I think it was like the limitations, wasn't it? Kind of helped in a weird way because it was like, oh, this is completely different, so I've got to cope with this, and
it was a frame of reference, and also I think what I was so you mentioned we're a band from Dublin, and we are a band from Dublin now, but actually we only moved to Dublin because I'm actually from Galway,
right?
And we lived in Berlin for 3 years before that, and in London. I'd been based in London for 7 years before that, so like we formed in London. So we were actually like kind of fresh off the boat in Dublin. So we are a Dublin based band now, but like basically by March, I was just getting to this stage where I was like, right, gonna start going to more gigs, gonna find my people, gonna, figure out what projects I want to, cause like, back in Berlin, I've been involved in different like DIY nights, and I like to get busy and, find, volunteer for stuff.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like just starting to pick up momentum with going to gigs and stuff. And then it just stopped, obviously, for everyone. In fact, the last gig that I played was with you guys at the All There, which was also definitely in my top 3, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
So that's one reason why things opening up again has been bizarre, because I actually didn't have a rhythm yet already when we went into lockdown. But actually listening to you guys talk about running nights and, what you learn and what it is you really want to provide for people, not just like to say I booked this cool band or something like that. It's got this meaning to it when it's like, where it's like creating a safe space for people.
Yeah.
That's really, it's been really nice listening to you guys talk about that, because it's kind of reminding me like these things do take a lot of time. Like building a community.
Yes, it does.
Takes a lot of time. And the idea that we would just come out of lockdown and I'd like just be running things, or I don't even know what it is. Like, because it's like imaginary FOMO. Like
and also like a lot of the people that come to my shows are quite vulnerable as it is. So to have something like this happen, where I think people are going to feel more vulnerable, the power of a safe space online has become quite interesting to me as well. And a community online for them. And it's also, it's opened up for me, because I've never really thought about the possibility of streaming a gig for those who can't get to gigs that love music. So from an accessibility point of view, it's kind of given me a brand new like lease of life when it comes to that side of it. But yeah, it's definitely a strange one to get your head around. I think if you work in nightlife, it's just been it's so bizarre. It's like, I go to bed at 11 o'clock.
I literally do.
Like, weird. Like, I haven't ever done that.
It feels so strange not to sort of have something to like count down to as well. So like obviously when you're a promoter or a band, you kind of do lots of obviously promoting, but like marketing essentially as well.
Definitely, yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And to not have that, to not have anything that you're counting down to get to the next thing, it's really strange. It feels like there's I wouldn't say like nothing to look forward to because it's lockdown. We don't know what's going on, but it's almost like I feel like part of the work that I was doing outside of my normal job has been obviously taken away and replaced with kind of trying to find other ways of doing things like this. It's been really strange. Obviously we met through your Drawn Together tour. Do you want to have a chat about that? Do you want to explain what happened?
Yeah, speaking of projects like that, but it is really interesting though when you do these things. That's what it was. It was quite a lot of nights. It was 11 nights on that tour, but it was about 6 months of planning. And then about kind of 3 months of this is the story we're talking about, to our fans and also to the bands and the promoters that we wanted to work with. So it's absolutely spot on what you said. Like when you take what appears to just be one gig or one release or something like that kind of out of your diary, you all of a sudden have your frame of reference, like kind of really pulled out from underneath you. Yeah, you just reminded me, like, what a different life that was. So the Drawn Together tour, it started off from an art project, actually. When I moved to Berlin, I, like a lot of other people, found that I suddenly had more time on my hands because I didn't live in London anymore. I didn't have to work like my ass off just to make rent. So it was really nice, and I really rediscovered how much I love drawing. And so I started an art project called Drawn Together, where I was just as a focus point and to have a bit of a narrative, because having some kind of structure is, I'm a bit of a nerd, and I think I just always need to have a structure to like my creative projects. I decided to draw and write about women and non-binary folk in music who had been really influential to me over the years. So it was a portrait project initially, but it led to a lot of really great conversations online where I was maybe reaching out to these artists, some of whom I did get to know. So like artists like Dream Nails, who you're talking about, we got chatting through that project. And it was lovely, and it made me think an awful lot about how much we've come so far in terms of how we're represented as women, as queer people in music, but there's so many people who have come before us. And I think one thing that it was great for me as a woman in music was to kind of break down this idea of that we're in competition with each other, because it was all about exploring this idea of like why I admire this person or this band, and just talking about what they've done and really appreciating it and not trying to think of myself in that picture. Right. And it really got me thinking about wanting to do more things that centered around that kind of visibility, that kind of safe space, and that appreciation and mutual respect between artists. So about a year later, when we were coming up to putting the tour together, I really was keen to kind of give that a new lease of life. And make it not just a tour just about us, but to make it a tour that we could actually bring people together through. So the Drawn Together tour was an 11-night tour all around the UK. We actually started up in Belfast, and it was all female, non-binary, trans, queer musicians that we played with, and it was absolutely fantastic. We played with nearly 50 artists.
That's mad.
Over the duration of like less than 2 weeks. And it was incredible. And Bristol was our second last night. We ended up in Bristol and then Bath for the last 2 nights. Interestingly enough, I always think, because Bristol and Bath, they're not so far away from each other, and also they were both amazing nights. And we ended up playing with the Menstrual Cramps in Bath, who I associate with Bristol. So I always get those 2 nights mushed up, but they were both amazing. So it's a good thing. So that's how that started. But it also really got me into making zines. So I've been working on zine projects through Selfmade, which is this music community platform for DIY artists that I run, and we usually do events. And I got really into doing zines through through that, just to kind of have something that people could take with them
Yeah.
from the events. But we also made one for Drawn Together, and it's just kind of been this snowballing thing of like, I just love this idea of having a physical thing that someone can take home with them, because
it was a really nice. It was a nice thing to obviously to be part of and be included in a zine. Just as someone who has sort of grown up with like the grunge Riot Girl kind of scene, and always wanted that kind of that zine community that we didn't really have that much in the UK. I don't think.
Yeah. It was such a novelty to me at first, and then, well, I think the whole point is like you. I think I had kind of like imposter syndrome making my first zine, but the whole point of zines is like they're DIY. You literally can make them.
I did comic books at university. That's why I went to uni, was I did art and creative writing, and the whole reason why I did it was because I wanted to do comic books, and then I started doing zines, and I did lots of small like DIY comic book and zine fairs. And that was really fun. That was like part of my kind of like my visual art background that I just absolutely loved. I did this zine called The Men I Want to Be, and it was just like, at the time I was really into wrestlers and wrestling.
Yes.
So I did like a whole wrestlers one, and then I did I was really into the Sopranos, so Tony Soprano was in there, and like just random people, and John Waters, the queer director, was one of the people. And when I met him at a cinema in Bristol, the Watershed, he actually autographed it for me and asked for a picture, and it's in his house. That's where zines can get you. I might not have fuck all money, but I am in John Waters' house. So
I love
that.
I love that. So obviously we've got one of your videos to play, and it's one called Shifting Shape, and I think it was the last song that you played at the Aldea when you played there. I think it was. It's an absolute banger. It's I
have to correct you.
Oh, really?
We ended. Yeah, that was the last official song of our set, but we ended on Kylie.
You did.
Oh, yes.
At the Aldea.
No, at the Aldea. Yeah. So we ended up on Kylie. Because I remember Delirium dancing to it at the gig. So the Aldea.
Delirium at that gig.
That was so good. So do you want to talk a little bit about Shifting Shape and just where it came from, where the idea came from, and also the video, because the video is incredible.
That was such a fun day. I was absolutely delirious. I'll talk about the song first, because I actually the video is quite disconnected from what the song was about. The song, I was really interested in this idea of like who we regardless of our situations, tend to feel pressured to pretend to be. So as women, as men, as queer people, and it's really all about the identities that we put on to be safe and kind of, succeed traditionally, or, be safe in a traditional sense of the word. So this idea of shifting shape is this pressure and the labor of like putting on an identity so that you can fit in with society. But like in the song, I reference lots of different types of, and there's so many guises in which you can do that. But some of the lyrics are about purely being effeminate as a man, or the taboo of talking about periods, or the pressure to dress conservatively, or to hide your sexuality. So it's all about these different layers, and it's all about these glimpses of kind of who they are behind closed doors, and the freedom of expressing themselves, but also the pain because they can't necessarily, or they aren't walking around day by day, being seen for who they really are.
Which I think is such a queer story, isn't it? It really is. And also from people who tend to live in nightlife, the queer scene is always late night. So there's like who you are in the day, and then there's who you are in the queer scene. So it's very good themes.
I hope it's also about shedding that and being who you want to be and who you really are. And I find it really empowering. It's one of my favorite songs to play. And it also was a new direction for us, I think, because we are a little bit, we've got this dichotomy with what we make in Huck, where at one point we're kind of like this grungy band, and then at other points we're quite high octane and quite punk. And this was like the most upbeat territory that we'd ever explored, and it really felt so powerful to be making that kind of music with that kind of message with it. It just felt great, and it felt like I was unearthing some teenage Julie that just wanted to do this and had wanted to do this for years. So it's a really important song for me.
Oh, I love it. It's such a good song.
And then the video is just we had an idea to run around and pretend to be in a video game.
I mean,
it's great. It's like, obviously it's a very sort of retro video game feel as well. So I'm all for that, because I grew up with the Mega Drive. So as soon as I saw that in there, I was like, oh, this is amazing. So
I have to give a shout to James Byrne, who has worked with us for like 6 years, I think. We've been making videos together, but he also works with Diver, who I think he featured his video recently.
We had a chat with him the last episode as well, yeah. So
James and Adam work together quite a lot, and he also works with Saint Bishop, who's also on our label. He's just such a generous guy and so creative, and also is like this really committed family man who will just like somehow make time to also make videos with poor art. I don't know where he finds the energy from, but he deserves so much kudos for what you're going to watch.
Oh, amazing! So let's try and watch it, and not actually just geek out over the video game-ness of it. So this is Shifting Shape by Hawk, and if you're looking to follow Hawk, which you should, it is spelt with 2 V's instead of a W.
Yeah.
So Shifting Shape.
And we're back. We forgot our short song. We just chatted away there.
It's our shortest song. So
So good. I love it.
Chat. It's the problem. It's like, let's have a catch up. All right. Oh, that was 3 minutes. Done.
That was done. That was really quick. So obviously that is on the album Cause and Effects, which came out last year. Is that right?
Yeah, last November.
Yeah.
Feels like so long ago.
And it's on Vita Records. Do you want to talk about Vita Records a little bit as well?
Yeah, totally. Vita is our baby. Basically, we started Vita as a record label, um, mostly just to house our own music at first. It was about 6 or 7 years ago in London, but at the time as well, we started running a lot of live nights, more kind of like rock and indie live nights. So we did that for a few years as well. It's had so many guises, but now we are more of a collective now than anything, because there's 5 artists, including ourselves, on the label, as well as that, like, most of us are also working on running it in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
And luckily, myself and Matt, who run the label, were able to afford to pay the people who are doing. I mean, it's pittance, but it's it's actually like a real form of like work experience and a bit of income for people as well. So we're all pitching in, and we all feel like we own it. So we've got Maria, Kelly, and Sive, who are more on the folk side of things, and then there's Hawk, who are smack bang in the indie segment. I think we're holding up the indie fort, like they do with another indie band on the label with us. And then we've got Diver and St. Bishop, who are more on the, I'd say, queer pop electronica end of the spectrum. So lots of things covered, and it's turned into this amazing family. And we really we do a lot of the production as well. So we're helping to kind of work with artists and give them studio space. So a lot of the things that can just be so straight up expensive if you're an artist starting out, we try to share those assets and those kind of those facilities as much as we can. So we've got a bit of a production house going on at the same time, as well as working together on our release campaigns, working with James to make videos, and just making sure that, I think, first and foremost, every artist feels like they're telling their story and not having to compromise, but also have, they're feeling like they're telling their individual story, but also like they have a team that will have their backs and help them to build a strategy and build an audience, and all those bad words in the DIY world. But I think there's such a game in music that you have to play. I mean, everybody has their line. So we're all just trying to hopefully carve a bit of space out in the music scene for music that hasn't been made before, rather than, having to pander and kind of dial down what you're doing.
Yeah,
it's a big part of our ethos.
I feel like the DIY scene as well, like the last few years, whether it's because I dipped back into it again or what it is, I just feel like it's exploded, actually, like especially in Bristol. We have such supportive venues as well, which I think is a massive help, because obviously it's us as promoters, but like, again, myself, I'm not a musician, but I'm an artist, but like the amount of support you get from venues in Bristol, like independent venues, because they're independent too, so they understand that ethos and that want to like be your own boss, essentially. It's really good, and it's just created like these little pockets of community that just, I don't know about you, Stu, but I feel like we're really lucky. Just to be able to have, like, even if they're not the perfect venue for what you want to do, they're just so supportive, and like so many people involved in the music scene now just seem to get DIY way more than like 10 years ago, where you had to fill that little bracket like indie or you were metal or whatever, and that was it. That's where you stayed. It does feel a bit more open and transient now, I think, which is really,
I think,
useful.
That idea of brackets as well is like, it's it can really determine what you feel comfortable talking about or sort of writing about as an artist. And over the last few years, we've become way more, I'd say we've become way more political as a band, but we haven't necessarily turned into a punk band. And what I've loved being able to do is like still exploring that much more kind of ethereal rock side of what we do, but feeling like, we can have a message, like we can talk about issues that really, really are important to us. And it's the same across the rest of the bands on the label. Like Maria makes what you might think from first glance is like pretty folk music, but she's actually really exploring like deep mental health issues. And I think the fact that we have that space, despite the fact that the genres are completely different, that we have this community space with Vita, just encouraging each other to like really push those boundaries. That's been so important for us. So that DIY ethos is actually so applicable to other genres of music, not just like pure like Riot Girl punk music. I think everyone can learn from that ethos. And it's been, yeah, like seeing more, even seeing, especially London, because I think we left London feeling like, wow, that place is so competitive and not feeling much soul from there. But having like already in the years that I've been gone, seeing bands like Dream Nails come out of there, and you can see that there's a real scene developing around those bands, like really supportive venues as well, backing them up. Like it's so good. It's just so good to see. And also I think people are starting to see now for the first time that these venues aren't, they're at risk, you know.
Yeah.
They're not just,
I think people always think promoters and venues are like money machines.
absolutely,
And
you know, and it's the same story in Dublin. Things are shutting down, or you know, hotels are being built.
because
That is the story in
you
Dublin
can't
constantly.
keep, it's like for example, we're both DIY promoters. We don't have some pot, like some magic pot that just overflows with money. We make our money through ticket sales. So when you cut that ticket sale by 2/3, we aren't comfortable giving our artists that little. So we kind of in this weird middle ground, and then the venues are as well, because then the venues can't afford. So it's really interesting that people are suddenly going, oh wait a minute, this whole scene relies on DIY. Like everyone's like, yeah, like I said, my money completely went. I don't have a wig in a box pot, nor does you know, we don't have that. But what it has caused us to do is stuff like this, where we can like chat and create a different forum for artists, and hopefully like we can get what we want out of it that way. It's a very strange time, and I think we're gonna look back on it and hopefully be like, that was really good. We reconnected in a way we didn't expect we would, because I think it was getting to a point where people were forgetting the venues, taking their venues very much for granted, I think, because I worked as an events organizer for a venue, so it was like I also saw the other side of it and how much it costs to put on a gig. So yeah, it's a very strange industry to be a part of, definitely.
I think that also we're going to hopefully have people basically appreciate everything a little bit more after this. I hope. I mean, it'd be nice to sort of be able to come back and sort of say, right, okay, well, we nearly lost all this, so you really need to start, you know, delving into the DIY scene a bit more. I mean, I do find it a bit strange sometimes that, you know, people will pay to, you know, 35, 40, 50 quid, you know, to go and see one band at the O2, but they won't put, you know, £6 in to go and see three local bands. And the thing is, like, how did they get to the O2? They got to the O2 by playing local gigs at some point. So, you know, it's a really strange thing to sort of have this mentality for people where they're like, oh well, if I've heard of them, I'll go and see them. It's like, well, I haven't heard of them. You might find your new favorite band by just paying £6 on a Saturday night. And it's, you know, it's really bizarre to me that that people don't make that connection.
I think the flip side is, like, I'm not that surprised when people don't necessarily understand that, but I am then very disappointed when you also don't get that support from government, because what we talk about, especially in Ireland, like we're full of stereotypes here, and one of them is that we're this this cultural haven and come and like appreciate the beautiful Irish art and this and that, and it's not, you know, that is absolutely a commodity, and it's absolutely something that brings in revenue to the country, and it's not like you're not seeing that kind of injection of funding going into the arts right now at all. Like, at the rate that venues are shutting, and also some of the dialogues right now about artists getting their funding cut for, you know, their COVID funding cut. It's just, they're still happy to put an ad on Aer Lingus about coming to Ireland because of the great music that we have, but like, you know, it's it doesn't weigh up. So we absolutely need that story to be told more truthfully.
I feel like
the scene will will dissipate if we don't
it'll
have
be gone. You
something keeping it going.
You can't survive when you don't have help. And the thing is the events industry was the only industry that wasn't given a furlough scheme or anything like that. And that's purely because they don't respect the arts and they see it as a hobby rather than as a career. And the problem is that we make up a hell of a lot of the economy, actually, and nightlife economy revolves around the arts. And until they realise that, like, they're going to lose a lot. Small theatres, cabaret places, small venues is what Bristol is so well known for. Obviously, we've got Massive Attack, Portishead, all those big acts that people in Bristol. They wouldn't have got anywhere if it wasn't for the small venues in Bristol. So, yeah, like, the fact that there's no support, and again, there's posters about Bristol music scene all over Bristol, and it's like, you're not putting any money into it. So if you don't value it, it's gonna go. We can't keep doing it for free. Like, you just can't. So yeah, it's a strange time, but let's not stop on a sad note.
No, you guys have honestly, when I was listening to you guys before I joined the chat, I was honestly remembering the bigger picture of, like, this is why we do this. Just hearing you guys talk about what you've learned over the years, I was like, there's hope for us yet. We just need to re-inject that kind of love and care. It'll happen again.
Yeah, and it's about connections, and it's about us all, like, willing it to happen. We've done, like, how I see it when it comes to, like, the queer community, but also like I said, DIY scenes. It's got through worse.
Yeah.
I always feel like it got through the 80s. We can do this.
Yeah,
we've got the internet now as a tool as well, which I think is a really fantastic thing, because we can do things like this. We can talk to each other.
And we have to remember that this is important as well.
Yeah.
This kind of conversation is like, someone listening needs it, or someone talking needs it. I think I needed this today. So there you go.
We love you, and, like, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. But I do think
likewise.
Almost at the end of tonight's episode. So it's a huge thank you to you, Julia. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been really nice to be able to talk to you, and I'm not drunk and just being an absolute arse. So thank you for that.
Yeah, same. I'm drinking Ribena. It's great. I wanted to put this on while you guys were playing the video, and then you guys stayed online with me. So
I'm wearing the one. I'm wearing mine.
On. My whole t-shirt's in the wash. I'm so gutted.
Sure it is.
I'm gutted. But yeah, thank you so much. Honestly, it's been lovely to see you. And obviously we'll work together again. I'll bloody make sure of it.
Yeah.
I think the last time we saw each other, we were like, yeah, we'll do Dublin. And
we want to do Dublin.
So we'll do Dublin.
We got it. Yeah.
We'll do it.
We'll do it. Definitely.
We've got a Pride show is our next show, is our Pride show. We can't really give much away right now, but that's going to come up on the 13th of September.
Yep.
So we're really excited for that. That's going to be with Bristol Pride, so that's going to be fantastic. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're re-watching this, please do share it and tell your mates about it, because we're having such beautiful conversations with so many creative people, and it's just been lovely. Yeah. Thank you once again, Stu.
Thank you.
And thank you for all the bands that gave us their videos tonight. It's been absolutely fantastic. And have a lovely rest of your Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.